All right, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. I apologize for the hiatus. It lasted one day longer than I thought. Everybody decided they were going to stay an extra day, which irritated me, and I had to fight the urge to kick everybody out of my house, but it was nice because they don't usually get to see my kids, so whatever, dude. Thank you so much for your patience, and I apologize once more for the hiatus. So I'm going to recap the events that took place at UFC 287 in the interest of time because I've got some catching up to do. I'm going to focus on the main card, and I am also going to cover Gastelum versus Curtis because I believe that fight should have been on the main card. We're going to get right into it, but before we do, please like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will thank you in advance because I'm Canadian, eh? So thank you very much for your subscription. Now let's get right into it, dude. Gastelum versus Curtis, K. I thought this was an amazing fight. Very, very good fight. I thought that it could have gone either way. I'm not going to call it a robbery. The second round was very hard to score, and while I don't think that the judges did consider the clash of heads a knockdown, I think that it still may have swayed them, not because of the initial drop, but because of how hurt Chris Curtis appeared to be afterwards. He was kind of doing the Gerald Meerschaert, like not doing anything or even moving when he was on the ground, and I was honestly concerned it was going to end from a clash of heads. I've spoke about this in the past about how referees are absolutely horrible at seeing clashes of heads, and they just don't do anything about it. That was a bad one. It dropped Curtis and had seemingly hurt him for quite a bit of time. Now, that being said, again, I'm pretty sure that on significant strikes they were like dead even in round 2. Round 3 I scored to Chris Curtis, so the second round is the decider. But I didn't consider it a robbery, and I was happy for Kelvin Gastelum because he looked much better than he has as of late. He was bouncing on his toes. He was doing the patented like head lean that he does before he goes into a, you know what I mean, when he's feeling himself, dude. He looked good, and yeah. Chris Curtis, I think that if he were to invest in a kicking game, like leg kicks, body kicks, shit like that, I know he threw a couple. If he were to really invest into those, I think it would do him quite a bit of good because Kelvin Gastelum was using movement to get away from Chris Curtis, and Chris Curtis was having trouble finding his hands. It took him a while to get going, and when a guy's using movement like that against you, it's nice to have a backup weapon to not only be able to touch them and score significant strikes, mount a significant offense of your own, but slow them down, one, from moving, tire them out if you're kicking them to the body, stuff like that. Now their movement is, much less, and you can start landing your boxing. Chris Curtis was ripping to the body pretty good, so I think that, Kelvin could have potentially been vulnerable there if he would have invested in body kicks, but he doesn't, and he's a little older now, so I don't know that he'll be able to really like implement that because guys kind of get stuck in their ways a little bit. But whatever, amazing fight. I think it got fight of the night. It was a all-out war. I thought it should have been on the main card. I do believe it was a strategic decision to put it as the like featured fight or whatever, the main event of the prelims, so that people watching the prelims would see it and be like, holy shit, and then perhaps buy the pay-per-view. And I mean, to be fair, it may have worked out that way because that fight was incredible. Next fight we're going to get to Raul Rosas Jr. versus Christian Rodriguez. Okay, well, one hype train derailed so far in the night, and not totally. I understand he's younger, and there's still a lot of room for improvements. That being said, though, dude, there is a ton of stuff he needs to work on. His shots, like when he shoots for takedowns, look like dude, usually when guys are shooting desperation shots, it's because they've been hurt or, you know what I mean, rocked or something like that. His very first takedown attempt, I went, what the fuck? Did somebody like knock him down in the back during their warm-up beforehand, or what the fuck? Because he was like, he had to get it to the ground. He does not feel comfortable on the feet whatsoever. And I'm going to say this too, dude. That story that he keeps fucking telling about Aljamain Sterling, the only way that story is true is if Aljamain Sterling thought Raul Rosas Jr. was a Make-A-Wish kid and he was trying to be nice and letting him win. Because there's no fucking way that for any significant amount of time he would be dominating Aljamain Sterling, at least not in my opinion, man. And while that was a joke, obviously, I don't think that story's true, even a little bit, okay? Because this loss, I think, is a good loss for Raul Rosas Jr. to have, because it shows you how many things he actually needs to improve on, not just that he got like fucking flatlined or some shit, which I think would have happened had they maybe fast-tracked him a little bit more and gave him somebody a bit higher up in the bantamweight division. That being said, though, dude, I don't want the whole storyline to be, my nose just whistled, that Raul Rosas Jr. isn't as good as we thought he was. I think Christian Rodriguez is better than we thought he was. I slightly underestimated him. I said he would be a tougher fight for Rosas, though I did still say he would get subbed. His grappling is phenomenal. After that first round, you know, he basically took over, and he's good, man. A lot of people were saying this, but everybody, you know, the UFC promotion team is real good at tricking you with the hype trains. Also, to see an 18-year-old kid come in here and sub dudes, like, in the first couple minutes, it's kind of hard to, like, pick against him. And I know that Jay Perrin's not the best. I do truly think, though, when these young guys who are like undefeated and you know, are just kind of running through people, I think they get this arrogance about them where they will start fights way faster because they think that they're going to be able to just fucking run through the person, whereas a guy like Jay Perrin, who's kind of been there, done that, is not going to do that because he knows what can potentially happen if you just blindly rush forward. Also, Raul Rosas Jr., I do think that actually rings true because he seemed to have kind of he kind of like emptied his entire gas tank in the first like round there, which is like, you're not going to be able to do that moving forward. If he would have gotten past Christian Rodriguez, there would have eventually been somebody who took him out of that first round. So it's kind of good that this was the kind of loss he took. He didn't get overly brutalized. But he did get shown, hey, there are guys that will be able to out-grapple you. There are guys that will be able to withstand your initial barrage. There will be guys who you are fucking, not willing to stand on the feet with, and if you can't get them to the ground, that's going to have to happen. I think if they would have given him a step up past Christian Rodriguez, he would have gotten fucking butchered, and they're going to have to be really careful with his matchmaking moving forward. Again, I said, I know he has, he's young, a lot of time to improve. I don't know that he'll be able to, like, have extremely high-level striking, though, because that's something that is kind of oftentimes better learnt at a younger age. It's just easier to pick up. Your body's more flexible and shit like this. And you usually see guys I think that it's more common to see a striker make massive improvements in grappling, or at the very least anti-grappling, than it is to see a grappler make significant improvements in their striking. Usually when a grappler, or, primarily a grappler, does really well in stand-up, it's because the opponent is afraid to get taken down. But that is what it is. Next fight, Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio, okay? Fight wasn't as crazy as I thought it was going to be. That, doesn't matter, though. Kevin Holland still found the finish. Crazy, like, hip shot, left hook. Those dudes with the long, lanky arms, man, I keep saying this. They've got a different kind of power. There's a ton of leverage they can get with their arms, the way that their limbs are shaped. Also, Santiago had no fucking idea that shot was coming because it came from so low. And Ponzinibbio was pretty fucking far away from Kevin Holland, to be fair. So, yeah, Kevin Holland not flatlined him, but put him out pretty good. And I don't have a fucking problem with that stoppage, dude. There are people that were unironically arguing that was a bad stoppage. I thought they were joking. I read through the comment section. Some people were not joking. He face planted. He tried to get up. His arms weren't working. He kind of face planted again. I don't know what that stoppage was fine, dude. Was fine. That being said, Kevin Holland may want to work on leg kick defense. Okay, he's got a bit of a problem there, especially considering he is not a very muscular guy. He does not have a lot of muscle definition or like muscle mass on his body whatsoever. He's got the patented tall, skinny black dude calves, okay? Tall, lanky black dude calves, whatever. They're fucking nothing. No meat on the bone whatsoever. Eventually, you're going to fight somebody that does hurt you there. I do kind of think it's unfortunate that Santiago was injured for so long, like during a pretty important time in his career, because I don't think that he's ever going to be able to beat high-level competition again. I also don't know that I think the same for Kevin Holland, though. Joe Rogan said something absolutely fucking retarded, and that was that if Kevin Holland moves down to 170, he thinks he could be champ there. Huh? Dude, what? There are probably better there are better wrestlers and grapplers at 170 than there are at 180. So, what? I get he's a black belt under Travis Lutter. Okay, well, maybe Travis Lutter gave him that black belt a little too easily because, with all due respect, I haven't seen him really showcase any high-level jiu-jitsu skills whatsoever. Whenever somebody gets on top of him, aside from Jacare, he doesn't really have anything for them. And that wasn't even jiu-jitsu that he used. That was striking with the crazy power with those long leveraged arms or whatever. So, I don't know, man. I can definitely not see him being champion at 170. I don't know why he would fucking say that, but it is what it is, dude. Kevin Holland, I think they should just put him in high-profile fights against fun guys that are going to give us fun fights. And it is kind of unfortunate that Jorge Masvidal retired because that would have been a fun one. And that's actually somebody that I think Jorge Masvidal might be able to still beat. But it is what it is, man. It was a fun fight. Kevin Holland wasn't talking as much. He did start talking eventually, and then there was the whole, do you smell weed moment or whatever? And, yeah, dude. Good fight. Good finish. Good performance overall. Next fight. This one, though, Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez. I knew this one was going to be a fucking banger. Holy shit, dude. Another hype train, slightly derailed a little bit. Rob Font, phenomenal performance. I felt so happy for him. He really fucking needed this one. He's a cool dude, man. Like, there are certain guys where if they get the W, later on in the video, we'll get there. It's not like, I'm like, God damn it. You know what I mean? But Rob Font, cool dude. Schooled Adrian Yanez. Dude, something else. Rob Font's got massive fucking hands. I'll tell you what, okay? Massive hands. Like Tony Ferguson fucking hands. And I think that might be why, like, I know he gets damaged pretty easily. Like, Adrian Yanez was able to swell up his eye, bruise his eye, and shit like that. But I think that some of the power might come from the size of his hands. Because we don't typically see him, like, fucking starch dudes like that. Now, he was consistently popping Yanez with his fucking jab. And I know that Rob Font has a beautiful jab. Adrian Yanez, though, there are adjustments you can make to not get hit by that jab. Do you know what I mean? Like, to be hit by that over and over and over and over again, it shows a lack of striking defense. And, like, not like he didn't know what to do to adjust for that. So, also, the UFC, like, promotion team, commentators, whatever, they all talk about how good of a boxer Adrian Yanez is, and I think he might be drinking, the Kool-Aid that the UFC promotional team is mixing for him, because a lot of the reasons why I thought he was a very good striker, he's still a good striker, but his kicks, like, he has good kicks. I talked about this. He has a good kicking game. He's going to need to use that against Rob Font because I think that Rob Font is a better boxer than Adrian Yanez, especially defensively. He didn't really throw a whole lot of kicks. I thought he was going to be blasting kicks to the body, to the leg, to whatever. But no, he didn't want to. And Rob Font fucking cracked him real good and starched him. And yeah, amazing performance by Rob Font. And Yanez, another one where it's kind of not as gracefully or not as damaging. I don't know. Raul Rosas Jr.'s loss wasn't that bad, right? Because he didn't get fucking knocked out that way. But I'm glad that Adrian Yanez got stopped here before he fought somebody a little more high level. Because while Rob Font is very high level in the bantamweight division, there are guys that are way better. And, they would do horrible things to Adrian Yanez. So he's got to go back to the drawing board, maybe a few more fights against guys that are lower end, top 15 or whatever, and then we can try again. But he does really need to work on his boxing defense. That jab, fix it. You get hit by it a few times, fine, but let's figure it out. And I don't know that he got starched because Rob Font has crazy power, but there was a lot of cumulative damage that had added up. It's crazy that he was, like, Rob Font's face almost looked worse than Adrian Yanez's face, but it is what it is, man. That was a good fight, and yeah, I think Rob Font got a performance bonus, so good for him, dude, because he's had a few fights recently where he hasn't gotten his full paycheck, you know what I mean? So, next fight, Burns versus Masvidal. So, I'm very glad that Jorge Masvidal decided to retire. It does kind of suck. That Kevin Holland fight would have been a lot of fun. He's just not, like, you watch him throw the same strikes that he threw a few years ago, and it just doesn't have the same pop, the same speed, the same anything. And I thought that he would have way more fucking urgency here. I did. I thought he was going to be like, fucking, I need to do something. So I thought he was just going to fucking go for it and forget about if I get finished, all that shit. I need to go for it. And I thought he was going to like blow his wad in the first round, kind of like he did against Usman the first time. Just go at him, get taken down, who cares, fucking whatever. You know what I mean? I thought he was going to explode on Gilbert Burns. He didn't really do that. He threw some good leg kicks. That first round was very close. I think I gave it to Masvidal when I was watching live because I didn't think that the takedown from Gilbert Burns and, you know, those hammer fists, while they looked bad, I guess, kind of, maybe, a lot of them weren't really landing, so, you know, and he took him down, like, right at the end of the round, so it wasn't like he had a ton of fucking control time. So I gave that first round to Jorge Masvidal. The second round, though, it seemed like he had already gassed out, and everything that was, you know, even relatively fast was no longer, and he got taken down pretty fucking easily in that first round. He got taken down multiple times over. It was a good performance by Gilbert Burns. It didn't fucking blow me away. But that being said, though, I didn't think Burns would be able to submit him. I said that. I said Jorge Masvidal has very good submission defense. And I don't think that Gilbert Burns is the striker that Jorge Masvidal is. Now, there is a hole, though, that we keep seeing in Jorge Masvidal's striking game that has now been exposed multiple times. That right hand is a real fucking problem for him. Like, real fucking problem. All you have to do is drop your level a little bit and you can crack him with that fucking right hand. Over and over again, apparently. Another one, not making adjustments. Burns hurt him a couple times. I mean, it was a good fight. It wasn't, like, ultra exciting or anything like that, but it was overall a good fight. And I hope that they let Burns go be the backup fighter and cut weight, because I don't want him to ask for his release. That would suck. I want to see Gilbert Burns fight these guys. I want to see Gilbert Burns versus Colby. I want to see Gilbert Burns versus Leon. He's a good fighter, man. And I know that sometimes he might fight a little boring, like, you know, Wonder Boy and shit like that, but it's just like his IQ. He's like, I gotta do this so that I don't get fucking whatever. Now, that being said, I don't think Masvidal had really anything that was ultra threatening to him in the last two rounds there. Masvidal seems to be getting, like, more tired faster every fight he has. It's fucking crazy. And you would think that with 5 of your last 6 fights being against wrestlers, where for the majority of the camp, I would imagine you're going to be working on takedown defense and getting back up, you would think by now it would be, like, damn near fucking impossible to take down Jorge Masvidal. Gilbert Burns didn't struggle all that much. The amount that Jorge Masvidal was sweating in round 2, fucking nuts, dude. Like Shaq at the free throw line. Something like, dude looked like he had just been taken out of a fucking pool, which is why. So, I know Gilbert Burns has since apologized for accusing Jorge Masvidal of greasing. I'm just going to say this, though. There is a way that you can, like, get away with greasing without actually physically greasing at the fight. So people, when they think of greasing, they think of, like, you know, a cut man, you know, accidentally maybe rubbing your back or something with a little bit of extra Vaseline on there and shit like that, right? What I know, though, from getting tattooed is, when your tattoo's healing, you gotta lotion it, right? So, you know, a few days after, whatever, it's all dried up, you start lotioning it. I put Lubriderm unscented on my shit. It'll go away, right? Like the lotion, it absorbs into your skin. If you go and work out, though, right, like shortly after you've lotioned yourself, that sweat is, like, way more slippery than regular sweat. It just is, dude. I noticed that. Like, I literally noticed that. I had gotten my sleeve finished, and I was hitting the bag, and I was sweating. My arm was sweating, and I had lotioned it earlier that day. That arm, like the sweat coming out of that arm, it was like the lotion was like coming out of my skin. Like the sweat was pushing it out of my skin, and it came to the surface. So it was way more slippery than the lotion that was on my left arm, or than the sweat that was on my left arm. So while I don't think that Jorge Masvidal like had one of his coaches like put Vaseline on the ice bag so they could rub it on his back or something like that, I could see somebody potentially putting lotion on themselves maybe before they leave the hotel, and then, you know, when you start sweating, all of a sudden you're fucking unbelievably slippery, but it just looks like it's your sweat. Now, Jorge Masvidal said he didn't, obviously. Gilbert Burns apologized because he has no proof, but Gilbert Burns has participated in a ton of grappling matches. I would imagine he can tell when somebody is a little more slippery than they should be. But whatever. I mean, is that actually cheating? That's a weird gray area though, right? Like, if I fucking put some cocoa butter on myself before I leave the hotel because I've got dry skin, you know what I mean? And then it's absorbed, but once I start sweating, then I'm ultra slippery. Like, it's kind of a weird gray area. It's not directly cheating, but it's kind of like, yeah. But whatever, you know? As I said, I'm glad he retired because I don't think he can't fight high-level competition anymore, I don't think, man. Like, I get that he didn't get fucking absolutely blown out of the water, but he's just not the same, even compared to, like, 3 years ago. So I don't want to see him get fucked up a bunch and whatever. He had a good career overall, made a ton of money for himself, whatever. Never reached champ status, but OG of the game, around for 20 plus years, had a lot of fans that were maybe upset with him because of how he was acting in the like, you know, the later stages of his career, but I respect him all the same, and happy retirement to Jorge Masvidal, I guess. Okay, next fight, dude. We're here. Main event time. Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya. I want to say this, dude. I've gotten so much shit, so many comments post-hoc. So, like, after the fact, now they're rationalizing these comments, and they come and they say them in my shit. My one fucking video that I did that is still, like, my favorite video that I've done, because of the research, and, like, it wasn't me just talking shit and whatever, and there was some thought that went into it and whatever, is the rematch video. In that video, I talked no shit about Israel Adesanya, okay? I talked shit in all my other videos this fight week, but that one video I talked no shit in. You would think that I spent that entire fucking 30 minutes or whatever it is just shitting, just defecating all over Israel Adesanya. But regardless, okay, that video is still fucking true, you inbred retard fucks, you absolute morons, okay? And I'm not talking to my subscribers. The ones that go in there and comment and say, oh, who's fucking better in rematches now and blah, but fucking all this shit. Alex Pereira still has more and better performances in rematches overall than Israel Adesanya, you fucking muppets. Israel Adesanya is batting 25% against Alex Pereira, okay? They've rematched 3 times. Pereira's finished him twice. Israel's finished him once. Alex Pereira still has more finishes in rematches than Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya has 1 finish out of all of his rematches, and it's this one. And it wasn't even a traditional rematch. It was a fucking quadrilogy. Or, you know, if you're counting all of their fights together. Alex Pereira has 2 just against fucking Izzy. And then he's got 2 against Yusri Balguri, and he's got fucking 1 brutal one against Jason Wilness, and he's got, you know what I mean. Overall, Alex Pereira still does better in rematches than Israel Adesanya. That video is still true. Fuck you, you dumb fucks. Point blank period. It's still true today. It's historically accurate. So fuck you, you idiots, okay? The fight itself, though. Alex Pereira was doing very good in round 1. I thought he won round 1. all the judges gave round 1 to Israel Adesanya, so we were kind of prepping for, like, perhaps a robbery. And now, we didn't end up needing the scorecards because Israel Adesanya flatlined Alex Pereira. But I don't see how you could score that round for Israel Adesanya. Alex Pereira outlanded him, I believe 20-15 in significant strikes, and Pereira was clearly hurting Izzy's legs, like, pretty consistently. He landed a lot of leg kicks in that first round. Second round, Izzy comes out a little bit more aggressively. Right away, chops a good leg kick, teeps to the body, whatever, shit like this. Pereira starts keeping him honest, though, backing him up with leg kicks, and then Izzy's all of a sudden not so aggressive. Now, the finishing sequence. Israel Adesanya says he was playing possum. I don't think he was. And I'll tell you why in a second. But I think it's funny because one of the things that people were shit-talking at me for in that video was, like, me saying that Israel Adesanya is flashy and has to set traps and all this shit. He can't just hurt you. He has to get you with a punch you don't see coming to hurt you. So he's got to do all these things to set you up, and sometimes it might overcomplicate things. The way he got the finish here, though, was not that. Unless you want to believe him saying that he played possum. But I don't know. I don't think so. You know, maybe a little bit, but I don't think that was what happened. Pereira landed a good hard leg kick to the left leg of Israel Adesanya, the one that he had been beaten up the entire time. Izzy's leg buckled a little bit. He kind of went back against the cage. Pereira throws a jab that splits the guard of Izzy. A beautiful jab. He throws a left hook that's blocked off the glove of Izzy, and then he rips a right hook to the body, if I'm not mistaken. After that right hook to the body, he grabs a hold of Izzy's head like a tie clinch kind of deal and lands a fucking knee, and that knee did land. When I first watched it, I thought, how the fuck did he eat that, first of all? And then I thought maybe it didn't land. But then I've watched it since in quarter speed and paused it and whatever. It fucking landed. So Izzy's got a hell of a chin, and credit to him, dude, because earlier in the second round, he also ate a left hook pretty cleanly, and he was fine. I think that Izzy thought to himself, fuck, it's happening again. There is no way I'm going out like I did the first time, because the first fight, once the finishing sequence started, Israel Adesanya threw nothing back at Alex Pereira. He was strictly trying to get away from the onslaught that Alex Pereira was dishing out to him. This time, I think he thought, fuck that. If I am going to go out cold, at the very least, I am going to try and fucking get him back. I'm not just going to be defensive, because then the ref might stop it. He throws a good right hand over the top, over Alex Pereira's shoulder, kind of in here, right? Clean shot. Pereira did not see it. It hurt him. And instead of following up with a left hook like he did at the end of round 1 in their first fight in MMA, he doubles up with the right hand, which was smart because Pereira was still in range. My camera just skipped a frame. Pereira was still in range. The left hook might not have landed the same. And he fucking put him out cold, dude. And then shades of Dan Henderson and Michael Bisping. Fucking savage. Okay? A lot of people probably thought I was going to be mad at the KO. I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad at the KO because I love the sport more than I hate one or, you know what I mean, than I love or hate an individual fighter. So when there's a moment that leaves you fucking jaw dropped, right? Typically, my kids are being loud as shit. Typically, it's because something incredible has just happened. And while I fucking hate Israel Adesanya, the person, that was a beautiful KO. Point blank period. Maybe one of the best KOs in middleweight history. That was brutal. That was brutal. Brutal. That was the worst KO that either of them have gotten on each other. And I'll say this, though, with a caveat. If Pereira was able to throw a follow-up shot in their kickboxing fight, that one would have been just as, if not more, brutal. But he can't because it's kickboxing, obviously, and that's the rule set, so whatever. But Izzy was pretty fucking stiff and out cold from that one left hook. So if Pereira could have done what Izzy did, I mean, fuck me, dude. But Jesus Christ. Brutal. And I wasn't mad at all. I thought, fuck, that was incredible. I was shocked, but I was not surprised. Because I knew that Israel Adesanya was capable of hurting Alex Pereira because he had done so. in almost all their fights. I just didn't think that was going to happen like that. I wasn't mad until the retards come out, dude. I didn't realize how many 13-year-old femboys watched MMA, but I guess those are all Izzy fans. Fucking gross, dude. There are certain fighters that their fan bases are not just MMA fans, right? Like, they've become so famous that they've transcended the sport, as they say. And it's like a pop culture thing. I think that's the vast majority of Israel Adesanya fans. I think that most of his fans do not watch every MMA event. I think that they watch Izzy fights and that's it. And I think that that's why I had, all these fucking imbecile retards coming and commenting on my shit after the fact, because there was nothing that they could fucking intelligently conjure up to critique or counter argue or any of the points that I've made. And it's funny because it's still true, you fucking idiots. But either way, I think that much like kids or a dog, right, are a reflection of their owner. When you see shitty kids or shitty dogs, you immediately assume that there are shitty parents involved, because that's just how it goes. Shitty fans are a reflection of the fighter that they like. And it is what it is, dude. Oftentimes, though, the fans are much, much, much worse. And I think that that's the case here. Izzy fans are annoying as fucking all get out, okay? They're cucks. They're fucking 13-year-old femboys who don't actually pay attention to the sport. And if you're a fan of MMA and you're also a fan of Izzy, I'm not saying you. Like, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the fucking idiots who only like Izzy, or the ones who are like, you know what I mean? You know who I'm talking about, okay? Like John Kozak or whatever. You said you wouldn't be mad if he was able to get the win in in one of my videos, and I said, yeah, especially if he could get the finish, right? I still stand by that. I wasn't mad at the finish. I'm mad at the aftermath because all of his fans are fucking retards, and he's annoying as shit. The other thing, too, is that all of his fans can't seem to understand that you can separate two things. I hate Israel Adesanya as a person. He's annoying. He's arrogant. He's fucking weird. And like, not in a good way. And he's fucking petty and childish and all of this shit. But he's an incredible fighter. Like, separate the two, you fucking idiots. Every single attack I've made, or joke that I've made at the expense of Israel Adesanya has been something personal. It has not been, I have never once said that he is a shitty fighter or that he sucks or any of this shit, because as a fan of MMA, you would be fucking deranged to say that, or you would just be in pure denial. He is a great fighter. He is a shit fucking person. Okay? That's it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like John Jones is a great fighter. He's a piece of shit who beats his wife, who pops for steroids, who does all this other shit. Israel Adesanya is a clown. He's a clown. I can't stand him. He's a goof. He's a great fighter. And all of you guys make it so much worse, though. All of you, like, diehard Izzy fans, you're like Dagestani fans, dude. You're that annoying. Maybe even more so. Maybe even more so, dude. More annoying than Dagestani fans. Good job, guys. Get a gold star for that. Annoying as fuck. Yeah, annoying as fuck, dude. And I've had some people ask me about what I think of him celebrating and like mocking his child or whatever. The arrow thing was cool, I think. Like, nothing wrong with that. Obviously, that's not what people have a problem with, though. The kid thing is fucking weird, dude. But here's the thing. The KO, I was shocked but not surprised, right? Seeing Israel Adesanya mock the child of the man who is still, at this point, by the way, unconscious. It's not like we knew that Pereira was about to get up, or he had gotten up and that he was okay. We didn't know. He was out cold. Imagine the kids, what's going through the kid's mind right now, okay? And I'll get to that in a second. Either way. He hadn't gotten up yet. When I saw him do that, though, I was nor shocked or surprised. I wasn't. Because it's like one of those things where people say, well, I set my bar really low, or I expect the worst, because that way I'm never disappointed. That is exactly what I expect from Israel Adesanya. He met the bar. Like, that's exactly what I expect from him. He's a fucking man-child. And I don't expect shit from a fucking man-child. He's fucking petty and weird and fucked. You hold a grudge against something that kid did when he was fucking 5? Motherfucker, I don't want to be judged on the shit that I did when I was a teenager. You know what I mean? The amount that you mature year to year, especially in early childhood, is fucking immense. Like, a 5-year-old is barely, like, not a toddler anymore. Do you know what I mean? And he's holding a grudge against that. And while that guy's dad is still unconscious, he does that. It's just bad taste, in my opinion. That being said, though, I don't think that you should bring your fucking kid, dude. I've said this before. I agree with the Nate Diaz, like, mentality. Somebody asked him if his kids or his friends or his family was going to be whatever the fuck. And he said something like, why would I bring my family? This is war. Why would I bring my family? This is war. It's warfare. I ain't bring my family warfare. It's Stockton Cali, baby. You already know what's up. He's right, though. Why are you bringing your kids? You know what I mean? It's selfish. Like, when Frankie Edgar brought his entire fucking family when he fought Chris Gutierrez, that was a bad one. And it's selfish. You want your family to see you do something cool, right? But in the sport that they're in, that can happen. Like, the opposite can happen. And that's fucking traumatizing for a child to witness that, dude. That is fucked up. That's traumatizing. There's no way it's not. There's no way. I wouldn't bring my kids. I'm not going to tell anybody that they should or should not. I just think that you should. Like, I think you shouldn't. I'm not going to tell somebody not to, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's up to you. And I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I watch them with, like, my kids in the vicinity, and, like, my kids have seen some pretty fucking ruthless knockouts. But it's not their dad. If I was fighting, I wouldn't have them watch it. Unless post, you know what I mean? If I knew that it went okay and that I ended up winning, maybe then they can watch. But not until then. I'm not letting them watch, like, for the first time live when I don't even know what's going to fucking happen. But that being said, like, that's no excuse for Izzy to be a fucking cunt, petty bitch that he is. So, whatever. I still fucking hate him. I'll still talk shit about him. They all act like I'm gonna stop talking shit, or that I'm crying. Like, first of all, you're all idiots. I don't care. Okay? It was a beautiful KO, and I'll give him credit for that. I even had people on the video that I did that I thought the people that watch me regularly wouldn't like, which was the one where I gave him credit for having the gamer's mentality and, like, continuously trying to beat the guy that keeps beating him. They're still talking shit there because of jokes that I made about his dog collar and his dress and shit like that. Like, bro, listen past the jokes, hear the rest of it, and you'll realize that I was giving him respect, you fucking retards. It's ridiculous, man. And, it's ridiculous. I can't understand it. Like, they're incapable of hearing any kind of criticism, even if it's not related to fighting. Like, yeah, he's a fucking goof. He's a good fighter. You know what I mean? And also, he kind of confirmed that he does look at he like his video game shit, dude, because now that he's beaten him, right? And it's like once you finish a really hard game, he wants nothing to fucking do with that. And, like, I kind of don't blame him, because that was, like, the hardest. Like I said, dude, he's batting 25%. And I don't fucking care about the first kickboxing fight either. If you guys are going to say it's 2-2 because the first kickboxing fight was controversial, then Izzy and Robert Whittaker are 1-1, and they should have a trilogy fight. Okay? Keep that same energy. Keep that same energy, you fucks. They're not 1-1. They're not 2-2. They're 3-1, and Izzy and Rob are 2-0. Even though I thought Robert Whittaker should have won the second fight. They're not 1-1. I don't ever say dumb shit like that. I say he's beat Rob twice, although I think that Rob should have won the second one. That's what I say. But the Izzy fans don't keep that same energy. Oh, he's 2-2. He should have won the first one. You haven't even watched the fight. They literally just say the same shit that Israel Adesanya says, and it's like, okay, cool, dude. Tell me you've watched that one kickboxing fight without telling me you've only watched that one kickboxing fight. You have no idea about any other kickboxing shit, you fucks. You just watch the fight because Israel told you to. So shut your fucking mouth. Okay. Anyways, dude. Again, I apologize for the hiatus. I appreciate the patience. It was very unfortunate because I did have some steam rolling there, dude. I had some momentum. I had gained like 70 subscribers in the first week of April. And then all of a sudden I've got to take a fucking 4 days off or whatever. It was unfortunate, but thank you. Like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will thank you in advance because I'm Canadian. And I'll see you at the next video. I'm going to go study so I can do my picks video tomorrow morning. Because we're taking no days off until we hit 500 subscribers. Because of the 2 hiatuses in like the last month. It was like 3 days and 4 days. Not cool. Not taking a break until we hit 500. And I got to go study for Holloway versus Allen. Thank you for listening and bye-bye.